Welcome back to another Council of the Fang at Almost Functional 40K. My name's Aiden. You know me. Matt is away on vacation. Today with me, I have Dustin Zelliff. How you doing, Dusty?
Hi, Aiden. Thanks for having me. I'm doing pretty well. Doing pretty well.
Yeah, man. So Dusty just came off of an undefeated run at Tampa ATC. Their team won third. He got best painted. We're going to be going over that all in the show. We also have a lot of Wolf reveals. So, yeah, we got a big show today. We're going to be covering it.
Happy to be here and excited to talk about these wolves. They
Yeah,
look so good, dude.
they really do. So, why don't we jump in there first? Because I could not hold my excitement. So, let me, again, first time hosting, let me see if I can get these wolves up on the screen. Let's see. So, yeah, wow, we got more model reveals. Can you see my screen?
Oh, absolutely. I have the Warcom up as well, so we
Sweet.
can do this.
Sweet. So, I just want to make sure I'm sharing. All good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, so we got Logan Grimnar, the Great Wolf, revealed this week. Holy moly, is this model insane?
I cannot believe the level of just glow up this man has had. Going from his old model, which was solid, it was one of the better older sculpts, but I think this is the clear evolution of the Terminator Captain and the Terminator Librarian in the Leviathan box with the runes, the lava axe. This is such a great model.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. It looks like it's on a 60 millimeter at least, if not an 80. It is massive. It has wolves with it. It has a giant axe. He is like imposing. He's like Primarch sized.
Yes,
Kind
I
of
would. That looks to be one step larger than the Terminator Captain, who's on a 50. So I'm going to assume that he's on a 60.
Yeah.
He's a
Wow.
big, thick boy.
His wolves are incredible.
It's interesting. From the side, they look a lot better. But it's clear the golden angle for this model is that first picture up at the very top.
Yeah.
The wolf's faces do not look great from the front, I will say.
Yeah,
That's the
interestingly
one.
enough, I found that with the head taker wolves. I like them from other angles as well. They're like extra wolfy in that they're not just cut and paste wolves from as we know them right now, but they're like monstrous wolves. They have like exaggerated features, mouths and heads. So yeah, they definitely take artistic licensure on those wolves, but
Well,
they look intimidating.
yes, I think they look amazing. It's just interesting because usually, and talking about golden angles, it's kind of when you're painting, there's always an angle that your model looks best from. And for this one, for Logan, I think it's that head on, head down, axe in front, staring straight at you. And for his wolves, it's those side angles that we see in the second image. So I
Yeah.
wonder if a little reposing, if you're painting this for a competition, you might want to point those wolves in different directions.
Yeah.
But I think they're amazing sculpts. They look properly vicious.
Yeah, he's got like runes inscripted into his cloak, all over his armor, his axe. His cornate axe is just so badass. It is, yeah, he's getting a huge glow up. I'm very proud of him. And with this, his twin wolves, they call them out in the article, Turnak and Fenrir.
Oh, we've got Fenrir. Okay.
Yeah, of course. Fenrir, Fenris, everything.
Oh no. So we talked a little bit before we started the show about Norse mythology when we were coming back from BEA. Fenrir is the herald of Ragnarok. So Ragnarok starts, and I am not a Norse historian, so please don't butcher me in the comments. But Ragnarok starts when I believe it's Balder is killed by Fenrir, or someone is killed by Fenrir, because Fenrir was fated to kill one of the gods and start the end times. So is his wolf always been named Fenrir, or is this a new character? Oh, okay. I was getting excited because if he's got a new wolf named Fenrir, Maybe we see a Lehman Russ. Maybe we see the end times, the wolf time.
There are other theories on when Lehman Russ comes back. Bjorn, the fellow-handed, the dreadnought, the famous dreadnought for the space war, alive since the heresy. He is fated to stay alive until he sees the Great Wolf again, and then he can pass away. He's like angrily holding on to death until he sees Lehman Russ again. But also talk about glow ups. His facial hair got a huge glow up.
Yes. Yes, it did.
Like the handlebar mustache. And he looks intimidating now.
And this is something that GW has been consistently improving on. And I thank Fire Slayers from Age of Sigmar for this. But braided beards and braided hair was something they did notoriously badly for a long time. And I think after the Fire Slayers army came out for Age of Sigmar, they've really gotten good at making proper Viking style braided hair.
Yeah. Wow. Well, anyway, that wasn't the only release showing up. We got a couple other characters. We got Arjak. This was actually rumored to be released. Arjak's kind of like one of the head captains under Chapter Master Grimnar, and he got a Primaris size Terminator upgrade, fresh new cut. Yeah.
I love the sculpt, and giving him a custom shield, just absolute beauty.
Yeah. Oh man, his shaved head with the beard, with the tattoos on the side of the head. Yeah, absolutely so cool.
That's if anyone wants to try and paint those themselves, I'll give you a tip. Don't put the head in the armor before you paint the tattoos.
Oh my god.
Or it's going to be really, really hard.
I hope those are sculpted in. They don't look sculpted in, but I hope they are, because those are so much easier to paint that way.
Sure. And they did that with Fire Slayers very well, with those runes set into their skin that look similar. I want to zoom in and try and find out while you continue, but let's see.
Fun fact, I learned this today. His throwing hammer pose, which you can see in the second photo, was originally sculpted by Juan Diaz. Juan Diaz, when they were making Arjak, was like, I want him throwing a hammer. At the time in Finecast, they didn't have the structural stability for a model to throw a hammer like that. So Juan Diaz is like, I actually created Arjak throwing a hammer originally. So I'm glad they included that in this model.
I think I can't actually tell if that's raised up. It looks like it might be barely raised up, almost like scars into his skin. So it looks like they're just elevated very slightly on the full zoom that I can get. So yeah, it seems that they'll be fun to paint.
Anyway, fantastic model. Moving on, we've got the head rune priest, Stormcaller himself, Njal, with pretty sick familiar and pretty sick posing, man. This is
the absolute classic "you shall not pass" 80s wizard slamming his staff into the dirt. There's a reason that 80s metal bands and high fantasy go so well together. And when I see this, I just think of the cover of an 80s metal album with a wizard shooting lightning and slamming his staff into the ground. And it's beautiful.
Which is pretty awesome. He's covered in runes. He's got the hair to match like Gandalf's hair. I don't know who's winning the hair battle in all of this.
We can talk about that, of who we think the favorite is, because I do have a favorite, and I'm willing to go to bat for him.
Sick. Important to note, he did get a downgrade from Terminator armor to regular, looks like Tacticus, which I think is good, because we already have 2 Terminator characters we're doing the range refresh in. And we'll talk about rules implication of this release in a second, but I have to say I do like the downgrade to Tacticus because it gives him more flexibility.
Sure. And again, something people always forget in the lore is that Marines wear different armor based on different situations. They aren't
different engagements.
Just stuck in one suit of armor forever. So I like having options.
Yeah. All of this custom sculpted fur on every miniature is just
it's so
amazing.
Good.
Incredible. And then finally, we got to see, the Wolfguard Terminators. So they needed a desperate change. They needed a desperate model refresh, and they got it. So, wow. The captain, the sergeant, the pack leader with the great axe and the sculpted fur, he is, oh my God, he's amazing.
It's beautiful. absolutely gorgeous. Once again, he has that iconic just Terminator. Whenever I think Terminator, I think of the huge shoulders and back hunch coming over. It
Yes,
makes them look so aggressive and angry. And with that wolf pelt, it almost gives him the old what kind of Terminators were
I
they?
know what
Horus
you're
Heresy
talking about.
Terminator.
Yes,
Um
like the
the
walking
relic
tanks.
Terminators. Yes, they're
Yeah,
so great. And his silhouette is beautiful.
and yeah, gorgeous silhouette and his facial hair. I gotta say, he might be
He's your favorite?
my favorite facial hair.
Yeah, it's great. Again, they've gotten so good at doing beards and braids. It really is incredible to see the amount that GW has improved.
Yeah, the other Terminators, we've got some great head options. A couple. I would say they're pretty standard Terminators with a couple pelts, a couple belts, a couple knives.
Mhm.
The head options are very unique. The axes are cool. But for the
Yes.
course, this is the closest they've gotten to just regular Marine units, I'd say, for the
Mhm.
release.
And that follows their GW's philosophy of keeping their Primaris models a bit more streamlined, a bit more customizable is a good way to put it.
Yeah,
And I like that. It gives you more room to add those bits and bobs yourself in a way that you like.
totally.
And the heads again are incredible, but
Gorgeous.
I think the rest of them are as well. They have the right amount of Greeblies that you they look good as is. You could add a little more, but it might make them look cluttered. I think they're just right to still keep those clean Primaris visuals without going
Too
while
heavy
keeping
on
the
them.
having all
Yeah,
the wolfy stuff.
I think they struck a nice balance. So, what's your favorite model out of this release?
Out of this release, I think it is Niall for sure.
Whoa, yeah,
There's something so nostalgic for me about slamming the axe into the ground. I love the bird. I'm going to be stealing that for some white scars at some point. And just, it really makes me think of classic Frank Frazetta art or early days GW. Well, not Frank Frazetta. It's the style is right, but he's wearing pants, so it can't be Frank Frazetta.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean,
but it's that very 80s kind of high fantasy art style that I just absolutely adore.
the pose is just incredible. I will say, I have to say, Logan's my favorite model that's released. You have to, you know.
Sure, I totally
But
understand.
for some reason, the pose struck me as a little weird to me. The left hand open hand and the axe pointed like up down, and then his legs, the way his legs are like. Either way, I think I
So,
might repose him a little bit just to be a little
yes,
more intimidating.
I think what you do, because I see what you're saying, and I think the step is you just rotate the arm that's holding the axe so that the axe, instead of being blade flat, kind of pointed downward, it's executioner holding the axe head down. And I think
Yes.
that will, it also makes the axe go directly along the lines of his beard, which I
Mm,
think will make the overall model flow a bit more. I
yeah,
like I
yeah.
like the open hand though, to be honest. I think it's very good. I like
Okay,
that.
that's fair. And the one thing that's always I've been curious about for Space Wolf models with Wolfen and other stuff is the straps on the hammers. They love their straps on the
Oh
hammers,
yeah.
like Wii remote straps. Some people like that aesthetic. I really don't. I don't think there's like, I just don't love the straps. So that's one thing I'm going to be removing.
Absolutely.
So wow, what a release. Let's talk about the implications for the actual tabletop and other models. So, the first thing, there's no mention of other models coming. That's fine. Like that just is what it is. We have now,
Mhm.
I think, like 12 or 13 of the 20 available data sheets they said they were going to be releasing. It's really looking likely that Thunderwolf Cavalry are out. Um,
They've been pushing Outriders at every detachment. I would be disappointed if they were gone.
Me too.
Um, but I don't necessarily think I'd be surprised because they don't seem to like mounted units very much.
Yeah, I I agree. I understand. It's just I think mounted units are the coolest.
I know you do.
I know.
Uh, I found the maximum number of bikes you can fit into a list, by the way.
How many is it?
60, 60.
Uh,
And we did the math on how much of a table that takes up. It takes up about a square meter.
oh my God,
Or
that
not
is
no.
so.
I'm sorry. Uh, um, not quite a square meter. It's like half a square meter. I did the math wrong the first time,
It's a
but
big footprint.
it's a big footprint.
Yeah, quite a big footprint. Yeah, so the reason I say that, Taranak and Fenrir used to be Thunderwolves. They were the wolves pulling his sled. Um,
I see. I see.
they did get a size downgrade. People are saying they're too small for like tactics Marines to ride on them. I think that's probably true. Um, I don't see,
Mm,
I mean, but also at the same time, the way the wolves are shaped, they're almost shaped similarly to Thunderwolf cavalry proportions, meaning that they're very large in the front and the shoulders, and they're very like thin waist because you have to fit a Marine without doing the splits on top of it.
sure.
Um, so yeah, I think it's likely that we're not seeing Thunderwolf cavalry in this release. Maybe a future release, but
Yeah, I would say a future release is likely. Um, but with 10th edition, they've definitely been pairing things out of codexes. So I would say I would hope that they're still there because I think there should be some mounted units that are actually playable and good.
yes, yes,
But I would not be surprised if they were left out.
yeah. The next rules implication that I'm seeing is like I talked about, Stormcaller, Njal Stormcaller, and Tacticus can join. Assault intercessors can join. Intercessors can join Stern Guard to potentially get reroll wounds on his shooting weapon. Can
Mm-hmm.
join. There's just so many units. He can join Blood Claws. He can join. There's so many units he can join. So depending on his buff, it seems like what they called out. Conjuring power of the storm to strike at his foes and concealing storm of winds. So it's pretty similar to what he does right now. Currently, he's his stealth to his unit, and he has a shooting attack.
Okay.
So it could be very similar, -1 to hit plus a shooting attack. I
Okay.
just hope we get Devlin's
So
shooting attack.
yeah. So if he can give a unit stealth, can he join company heroes?
Oh, that would
Probably
be
not because
probably not.
but it would be very interesting if he could.
Yep.
That would be an obnoxiously durable unit.
Yes, it would. The last thing I'm curious about is we now have a new weapon option that we did not previously have, which is a great axe.
Yes.
This is not a power fist. It seems like you cannot take this alongside a Stormbolter or anything else. So I'm wondering what this great axe profile is going to look like.
I will bet that it is 822 power weapon. It's a variant of a power fist. Or
Yeah, I can see GW doing that, but I would really love to be unique in some way. I really wonder how these Terminators are going to be unique. They gave them really cool sculpts. I don't want them to be Terminators plus one extra weapon option that do one thing very slightly differently. That would be so boring.
So our Wolfguard, the ones that are supposed to be very good in melee, I know that you have the Long Fangs, who are your ranged weapon Terminators.
Yeah.
Now, these are melee guys, I assume.
Yes, they're supposed to be elite warriors, almost like Blade Guard. You know, they're like veterans of the chapter.
Mm-hmm. So, what would you like to theorize about what kind of melee what they might get? What kind of rule?
Well, I hope that all of their power axes are like 622. That would be, and like 4 attacks each at least. That would be really great. Their rule needs to be something that like impacts their damage output, because I think that's really where they're lacking.
Yeah. That's also, I think, looking at these sculpts, I see 0 defense items.
There is an option for
rune shield or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see. These events experiences make these Wolfguard Terminators a deadly and durable force in the battlefield, with a choice to swap their Storm Bolters or beautifully decorated Storm Shields. So it sounds like every model will have the option to take Storm Shields.
Okay.
Which is great.
I think they are going to get a damage increase. I do think they'll be an offensively oriented Terminator unit
Yes.
because I don't think it'll be a speed increase. I'll bet it's something like, let's see. We can already access +1 to hit with a chaplain. Can we get, or sorry, +1 to wound with a chaplain? So assuming Terminator Chaplain can lead this unit, I think is a safe bet. But maybe they have a way to reroll wounds.
That would
Potentially
be
it'll
pretty
be
amazing.
the classic reroll wounds of 1 if your enemy is not on an objective, reroll wounds if they are. So who
Yeah,
knows?
that would be pretty amazing. We got a question in the chat. Did Terminators lose the Cyclone missile launcher? So that was one thing that Wolfguard Terminators had, which was kind of nice. You could take Cyclone missile launchers. I think there's special rules to ignore modifiers. From
Mm-hmm.
what I'm seeing, we have an assault cannon on the last model previewed. I don't see a Cyclone missile launcher. I feel like if there was an option for a Cyclone missile launcher, they would have previewed it.
Yes, one would probably be built with it. And it seems like they are going away from giving Terminators that option. I believe the Deathwing Knights lost that option as well with their new kits, and they used to have that option too. I think that's the most direct comparison is the special Terminator unit for Dark Angels.
Yeah.
So I would expect to see something similar.
Yeah. Wow. So quite a lot to process for Space Wolves. We don't have an idea of when they're dropping. We did get a double release for Death Guard and Wool Eaters. People are still kind of digesting that. That's set to be what it's released this coming weekend.
Yes, it's this weekend, just after the Richmond Open, thankfully.
Thankfully, yes. You and I are both going to that.
Yes.
So I'm assuming the earliest that we would get a release would be like late May or early June for a codex. Like I think we might get a box set. Yeah, what do you think?
Oh no, I would say early June. I would be surprised if they released 3 codexes in the same month. They like to space them out for sales. I've noticed.
Yeah. Well, cool. Lots and lots to look forward to. Either way, it's going to be a completely different army. And we have lots of new cool models. Every single other Marine faction is like, what the fuck? What the hell, man? Why didn't we get this stuff? Blood Angels are like crying right now. Every post in a Blood Angels subreddit or Discord is like, what the hell?
There is such a stark difference where their new models were fine. I will say I didn't hate them as much as a lot of people did. I think their Sanguinary Guard, derpy little wings was a misstep, but their Death Company looked great. Most of their kits were upgrades. This is a different level, though.
Completely different level. So, yeah, man. What's up, USA Wolf? For Russ and the Allfather. Cotton saying box in May, separate codex, and these models in June is my prediction. Yeah, I think they'll definitely release the box set similar to Emperor's Children. We'll get it probably like a month, at least a month, before we actually are able to play with our rules. So we'll have a month to mull over the codex and the points and all that stuff. So cool, man. Well, lots to look forward to. But without further ado, let's get into the second half of our show.
Sure.
So, Dusty, you and your team, what was your team called?
This event, we were Lobsters, Pirates of the Lobster Bean, Part 2, Curse of the Black Claw.
Yeah.
So we are the Lobsters. If you've seen us on Trevi or Joe's stream at any of the 5-man American Team Championship Circuits events, we dress up as lobsters, we yell, we sing sea shanties this year, and we try to do our best to win events. We've done decently well. We almost won the circuit last year. We were second place, so we've been having fun with it.
That's great, man. I know you have a following. Your team has a following. People look forward to playing you at events. You always make your opponents smile, and you guys are doing really well. Tell me about your run at Tampa ATC this past weekend and your team's run. Then we can maybe get to your run.
Sure, absolutely. So we played. We went down to Florida, Tampa. We went in with the expectation that we actually had a good chance at doing well. We wanted to win the event if we could. There were good. There obviously Art of War are from there, so there are going to be some very strong contenders in that region. And I'll go ahead and talk you through round by round who we played, how we did. It was really a amazing event. We didn't have a single bad round. Every single one of our opponent teams, every player on them was just extremely nice and fun to play against. The event was put on by JD from Away Games. He was running it entirely solo, so we helped him.
Teams event entirely solo. How many teams? How many players?
24 players, 120 total players, and JD was the only man there as the TO. The local TO did come in. I forget his name, and I'll feel very bad for that because he's amazing. He runs some really great events in the Tampa area. If you live down there, you should go to his events. But he and JD really kick some butt.
Yeah, doing some heavy lifting. JD runs a lot of events up and down the East Coast. Fantastic TO. And I have to say, the quality of events has gotten so much better in the past couple of years.
Yes, incredible shout out to JD.
Yeah, big shout out. So
let me
you guys did well. You guys played a lot of good teams, and your record 3-0-2 is that?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and talk you through each round. So our first round, we played a team called Death, Dice, and Robots, Sleeper Builds. They were very fun. They were all running very off-meta, very strange builds. So we were doing that. They were our first round. So pairings went up the night before with teams events. Usually you get your pairings in advance for the first round and the second and the first round of the day. You know your pairings the night before. And we were talking about it with a few Necron players that I know quite well who are good players, Josh Campbell being one of them. And I quote, "I do not understand this list. I fear things that I don't understand. So I fear this list." And that was kind of how we went into that first round of these guys are probably pretty good. They're doing things that are weird and we don't understand why, but that means they probably have a reason. We did manage to get the win. That Necron's list got a big win against our Imperial Guard player. But all of our other all of my other teammates managed to get a win. I personally played into Custodes, Solar Spearhead Custodes, and I was running, I will be ashamed to admit, Ultramarines Gladius. Unfortunately,
yes,
there's no reason not to run them if you're a Marines player and you want to win games. Unfortunately, they are far too good.
Quite good. And actually, before we go on,
yes.
You were running Ultramarines. I heard Imperial Guard. What else was your team running, and why did you choose
absolutely.
Things? Why don't you give us a rundown of your team comp?
Sure. So I think before I get into that, let me explain the concept behind 5-man teams for people that might not be familiar. Yep. You have 5 players on your team. You cannot overlap codexes. So you can have one of each codex maximum. So if you're allying in Imperial agents, for instance, only one player can ally those. Or if you're allying in Chaos Demons, same thing. There can only be one instances of Chaos Demons in your list. So you have to build your composition with that in mind. You also need to be aware that the tables are going to be 5 different layouts. The ones we played in JD's tournaments in the ATC circuit are layouts 1, 2, 5, 6, and 8. So there's a couple boards that are heavier, a couple that are lighter, and you need to prepare for that accordingly, specifically table 8. Yeah, and so in pairings, there are attackers and defenders. You put your defender down. The enemy will attack that defender with 2 of their lists. Then your defender chooses one of those 2 that they want to fight. Your defender also gets to choose their table. So that is why a lot of times our strategy is we want to have an army that is very good on a specific table. They can always be our first defender because they can soak up any matchup as long as they get one of their good tables.
Right.
Then the attacker picks the mission. So the attacker has a little bit of agency as well. And you repeat that 4 more times after until every table is selected and every matchup has been selected. Our team we built starting with that idea of we want someone to be able to take away table 8 every time. And for that,
that table 8 is a wild card, so you need to kind of get it out of the way.
yes. So for us, table 8 was a problem because we had 3 very heavy shooting lists. And I'll talk about this again in team comp, but we really built our strategy around that table 8 and getting it out of the way. So we have Larry Oliver on Tyranids. He was running Vanguard Onslaught. He's going to be mad at me if I get that wrong, but he was running triple Norn, quite a few other big bugs, and basically his job was to put a Norn on each objective and say, come at me.
Yes.
And many people tried to come at him and failed. He did very well, went 4-1 at the event, and really helped lock down that first anchor role. So after we had decided that Larry's job would be our first defender, we needed to have someone to be our second defender, because you really only ever get 2 defenders. And for that, we wanted something that was a completely different kind of skew to Larry, because if they have a bunch of armies that can deal with tanks, they're not going to have a bunch of armies that can deal with hordes. So our idea was to have Jason Smith play Green Tide.
Wow.
Of just massed orc bodies, lots of them.
Yeah.
And his job was to take the next table pick and just get a good draw matchup into anybody, or push a win if he could get a good matchup.
Yeah.
And we built out our matrix to see where we could pin our opponents, but I won't get too deep into the weeds. Stat Check has a really good breakdown of building a matrix and how team pairings and team composition works. That would take far too long if we were to stay on that. Yeah. Then for our last 3, we had just good lists, is what I like to say. They don't have a specific role to do, but they're just lists that are really strong and can win a game into just about anything. Wow. So we went with Ultramarines Gladius, Ynnari, and Hammer of the Emperor Guard, played by myself on Ultramarines Gladius, Mike Sanchez on Hammer Guard, and Connor Lobb on Ynnari. And so the idea was these are just some of the strongest armies in the meta in the current game. They can always get a win. They're always things that people don't want to play into because they're very strong. And their job is just to get to the scrum, which is the last 3 matchups, and say, we're just good lists. We're just good at this. We're just good at 40K, and then rely on being able to get a good matchup there, get a good table, and get a win.
Yeah, I mean, I will have to say those last three lists, you're right, just very good lists. But the first 2 are actually kind of a bit unique and different. You don't see Tyranid stat checks as like I haven't seen them. I did play Larry at BEA. He pulled the win out from under me. Yeah, it's like that's quite a unique list as far as stat check goes. I talked about on the podcast earlier, almost like a Tyranid version of Chaos Knights or something. Then you have Horde, Green Tide. You don't see Horde right now. So those are kind of very unique defenders. And
that's their job.
Yeah.
They're there to soak up any matchup on their own table and say, I'm very hard to shift. I can score a lot of points. That's all I'm here to do. Yeah. Because something important about teams that is different from singles is all scoring is based on differential. So there are 100 points available for both teams to split every round. So if every single one of your players tables your opponent immediately, you will get 100 points and they will get 0, because every game is out of 20 and it works on the same system. Right. So every 5 points of normal victory points is 1 point of differential. So a game where you both score 100, that's a 10-10 in terms of team points. So even if you lose a game, as long as you keep it close, you're still getting points for your team, which can push either a loss into a tie or a tie into a win. And that's one of the things that makes teams very fun is there's a reason to play out the entire game, no matter how badly it goes.
Even if you're losing. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely. It's the most fun way to play Warhammer.
It really is. I highly recommend anyone that hasn't done it, find a local event, get some friends together, go roll some dice. Yeah.
Okay, so we got an idea for your team. You were talking about the first round. Let's get into the rounds then.
Yeah. So against Dice, Death, and Robots. Sorry, I said it in the wrong order. Sleeper builds. They came at us with World Eaters with no Angron and massed 8-bound infantry and 2 Brigands. They had Adeptus Custodes, who were Solar Spearhead, and it was a good stuff list. It was Telemons, it was Contemptor Dreadnoughts, and it was 2 Caladiuses. Just a classic good stuff list. That was the only one that wasn't weird in any way.
Right.
They had an Awakened Dynasty Necrons with a giant warrior brick. Not all of the buffing characters for it, but a lot of them, including the man, the myth, the legend, Oric, and the Diviner. They also had Silent King, Nightbringer, 1 DDA, and 3 Hexmark Destroyers, which is a choice. It's an interesting choice. It's good. It's great, amazing mission play.
Yeah.
And then they had a Tau Empire list running Retaliation Cadre, just massed battle suits, lots of damage, lots of Kroot. Very fun list to play. One of my favorites I've ever played.
Okay.
And kind of a pain in teams because they can always get an angle on you and they can always shoot something.
Yes.
And then their last one was a Ultramarines Gladius classic list.
Yep.
And again, just a good list. So the way our pairings went, we first defended with Larry. He took away table 8 and he took away the Space Marines matchup because we knew that was a hard one for some of our other teammates. He managed to get a big win there because the Marines tried to kill the Norns and didn't. So.
Yeah, those Norns are beefy, man.
We ended up having Connor, our Eldar player, go into the Tau Empire. That was a very close game. The Ret Cadre is quite good into Yanari because they are able to get those angles whenever they need them. Yanari relies a lot on staying elusive and never letting you shoot multiple things in the same turn. Then we had Guard into Necrons. I didn't actually ask Mike what happened. I'm fairly certain he just bounced off the Nightbringer, who then walked through all of his tanks, which can just happen.
Brutal.
Because sometimes you shoot your entire army at the Nightbringer and he rolls 4s, and then you just have to be sad as he kills you.
Yeah.
Our Orcs player, we think Orcs Green Tide has a fantastic matchup into World Eaters. They just don't have the volume of attacks to actually do damage. And that's exactly what happened. The World Eaters couldn't kill enough of the Orcs before the Orcs completely swarmed the World Eaters and wiped them off the table.
That's fantastic. I would love to see that, though. I bet the Orcs and the World Eaters both loved that engagement because they were just killing each other.
They had a wonderful time.
Each other in the face.
And then I played Custodes, and I actually played Custodes 3 times this weekend. And the Custodes all thought it was supposed to be a good matchup, except one. One of them knew it wasn't. And he said,
"Yeah."
But his captain didn't. It was very funny, though. I remember Larry sitting next to me and just starting to laugh because the guy goes, "I told my captain this was a bad idea, and I was right."
Yeah. So tell me more about that matchup. You've got a very traditional, not traditional, but you've got
it's very traditional. Yes.
Tell me about the matchup.
So, my list is 2 Vindicators, 2 Ballistas, Bobby G, Calgar, just everything you'd expect to see in an Ultramarines list. And Solar Watch Custodes with Dreadnoughts is very reliant on being able to, 1, move through walls, get good melee engagements, and 2, being able to trade up into you. And when you can kill 3 to 4 Dreadnoughts per turn, which Ultramarines can do very, very easily, actually, you hit critical mass of, hey, these things are just dropping. And the Custodes player runs out of stuff too fast to actually play the game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My list also contained a squad of Desolation Marines in their Impala, and that also is problematic for Custodes because they rely very heavily on either allies or sisters or other little units.
Little cheap units to do actions, hold the backfield.
And they usually don't have very many of them.
Nope.
So being able to just pick them off every turn and say, well, sorry, now those 300-point Custodian Guard have to stand on that objective. They can't run into me anymore.
Not very good. Yeah,
no.
It seems like you're going to win the outright firefight. You're going to win the indirect firefight. And then, yes, they do edge you out in melee a little bit if they can gang up on you, but they're not going to get there.
The idea is that you keep them at range until they've gone past that critical mass. And Caladius tanks are great. They win the shootout just as long as they can trade up. Again, Custodes need to trade up. They're expensive, and you don't have a lot of models. So you have to get proper value. So trading a Caladius tank for a Ballistas Dreadnought is never a good trade. And that's as long as you don't give them multiple tanks in one turn, you'll be in a good spot in
Yeah.
that matchup. And I played that 3 times. So I won't go too deep into the other matchups. I can talk about our last round because we played Team DGen, who beat us last year. So it was nice to get a little bit of revenge.
Yeah.
Wasn't all the same guys, but some of them. Great people. Some just really good people on that team. They were an absolute blast to play against, but we managed to pull out our win.
That's fantastic. Yeah. Wow.
And so for me, I played into Custodes, then Admech, then Custodes, then Custodes, then Admech, which is funny because I see those as all very good matchups for me. And I was never a defender. My job was to get to the scrum and take what I got, because I don't think there was ever a time that I looked at the other team and said, I don't want to play against that. Because that's the strength of Ultramarines Gladius, is they are so good at killing that they can kill anything. And we joke about it of like, Larry doesn't even need to ask me for pairing input because the answer is I'm a smash it. And that's usually how it goes for Ultramarines.
It's pretty easy. You know, what's up, Riz, man? I was going to ask you, and I still will, what's your strategy for building a teams list? But you just have this very strong, very powerful, well-rounded list. So you're just like, yeah, plug it in teams. So
yeah. And there is strategy to a teams list. So the Desolators are a teams list tech piece. They are a unit that is not necessary in a singles list, but they let you push your good matchups into huge wins.
Yeah, those things beat up on some armies.
So, and that's kind of what you want to look for in teams. If your job is to just be a strong player, just be a good list, you don't have a specific role. You're not a defender whose job is to just score points. You're not there to blunt the best armies. A lot of times you're not there to pin something. Your job is to just go, I'm going to take a matchup and I'm going to push it as hard as I can to get as many points as I can.
Right.
And a lot of times what will happen in teams is people will realize they're losing. And the correct choice then is, okay, I need to just hide and score as many points as I can. Desolators make it so they can't do that. You can just keep killing them even while they're hiding from you.
Ah, brutal.
So that's kind of where that was at. That's where you want to think about for teams is, how can I push my list to do what it does well, even better? And it's okay if you lose some mission play for yourself, or if you lose mitigation into your bad matchups, right? Because your job is not to mitigate your bad matchups. It's to win your good matchups even harder.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So, wow, you, like I said, your team went 3-0-2, undefeated, got third place, best team spirit. Yes. Congrats. You personally went 5-0.
I did.
And you won best painted. So congrats.
I did win best painted. Thank you.
Dusty's army is gorgeous if anyone's seen it. It's a beautifully converted and painted white scars army. Some of the best models I've ever seen.
I have a few of them over here, but I won't go grab them because they're on the other side of the room.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that. I've been working hard on improving, and it feels good. It feels good for the validation, you know?
Absolutely. And please keep winning those awards. That way you can brag over Connor, because Connor's painting event awards. So
I literally, on the drive back, because we did drive, we all took a van together. I kept pulling up my skull and just holding it and staring at him until he noticed.
Okay, guess what?
Hey, Connor, look what I got over here.
Yeah. God, that's funny.
Do you have one of these, Connor? Now, to be fair, as much as I love to give Connor shit, he's also an amazing painter.
He is a great painter, yes.
He won best painted at National ATC. Now, that was kind of a gimme, because that was the year nobody brought painted armies, because it was right after 10th edition dropped. Mm-hmm. He still won. I give him a lot of crap because he didn't paint his army. He airbrushed his army and he gave them base coats. However, he won 4th overall for best paint at WTC. That's a genuine, he is a fantastic painter. He should never, ever let anyone put him down, even though sometimes I try to do that. He genuinely is amazing.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, any more on the team event before we kind of move on?
Sure. Let's just talk a little briefly about our AdMac matchup and the last last round against Team Degen.
Oh
Because
yeah.
Team Degen are one of the best teams on the East Coast. They're very, very good. And the way this wound up shaking out is we got a small advantage in pairings, which was they thought their AdMech had a good matchup into me, and they didn't. That's every other matchup went the way we expected. We had a few draws, a few small wins, but they thought that they would have the win of AdMech into Marines because their AdMech player had been absolutely bodying Marines. I will say his dice went very cold, but and that's how team events can really, when you're pairing, that's how you win, is if your knowledge of a matchup is different from your opponent's. And you're right and they're wrong specifically, because we knew that was a good matchup. So we were like, yeah, absolutely. Give me that matchup. And we threw them a curveball as well, because I talked about table 8 and how we built Larry to take it over. However, we actually first defended with Mike on Imperial Guard.
Oh.
And the reason we did that is because we looked at them and we saw they had a bunch of shooting armies that they would send into Imperial Guard to try and win the shooting war, which they did. They attacked us with Imperial Knights and shooting Death Guard. And it was Imperial Knights with Canis Rex and 11 Armigers. It was actually very, very fun list. I like it a lot. It's just pure, no mission play whatsoever, just baby knights.
Yep.
And so we had Mike take table 8, which is that incredibly dense, no sight lines whatsoever. And the knight player's face when he saw that was like, why? And then the reason is we felt we had good matchups the rest of the way down. So we just let the two of them play bumper cars, trying to walk around these giant ruins and never actually interact with each other and get a draw.
Is that how that went?
That is exactly how it went. They weren't ever able to touch each other. They actually played a round 6 because neither of them got to fire a gun the entire game, and they wanted to actually shoot with their models.
Yeah. Wow. That's hilarious.
And so that was kind of, again, teams events. If you want to be good at them, it's all about the pairings, and it gets even more complicated in 8-mans, but it's really about knowing your matchups and which ones you can win and which ones you should win and should lose.
Right.
And that's how you find out how you want your pairings to go.
You guys seem like you are fine-tuning, sharpening that tool. Pairings, lists, team comp. I mean, you guys are really doing it well. So once again, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, all right. We're kind of wrapping up. I'll leave it open to any questions from the chat. But one question that I want to ask to almost all guests on the podcast.
Okay.
If you had to build a wolf list, how would you do it? What would you start to bring? What would that look like? So off the top of your head, what sounds good? Do you like champions? Do you like the more wolf heavy stuff from Stormlance?
Sure. So I'm obviously a White Scars stan. I have been since 8th edition. They are the best Legion. No offense to Space Wolves. You guys are pretty cool too. You guys are pretty cool too. Okay. I won't lie. You're pretty good. You're pretty good. But I would definitely still go with Stormlance, and I would take Wolf Jail. I wouldn't even put a single model in that list that wasn't designed to maximize footprint and just sit on people. I wouldn't try to kill anything. I think that Wolf Jail at its core is just run you over and block people out. And my job would be to be first defender, take a table with lots of ruins on it, and just post up on 2 objectives and say, I'm going to score primary. You are not. I don't have to fight you. I just have a ton of OC and bodies, and I'm not going to let you leave your deployment zone if I can help it.
I'm really proud, Dusty. I'm really proud.
And that's if I were to play that. That's my team's list. Sorry, my head goes to teams first. My job would be to be first defender and just say, I'm not going to let you score points. I'm not going to score any either, but you're not going to score any, and we're going to get a 10-10 draw. no matter who I play against.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about other mounted lists because I love the idea of mounted. If Thunderwolf Cavalry go away, and it's looking more likely by the day, I'm always going to be playing with Space Wolves, but I love the idea of mounted units. So I'm like, what other mounted detachments are good? Company of Hunters, Stormlance is good, you know. Yeah, I would maybe convert. Everyone's been talking in the Space Wolf Discords and chats about like, oops, all of our Thunderwolves are now Outriders. So like, if they're going away, we're still going to be able to play with them.
And I think I mentioned earlier, you can play Company of Hunters and fit 60 bikes on a table. It's a lot of bikes.
It's a lot of bikes.
It's a lot of bikes.
Yeah.
Doesn't really do anything, but it's a lot of bikes. And and I was talking to Gator about this. That's Mark Hertel.
He's been on the podcast before. Yep.
He's a really, really strong player. And I was talking to him about this list. He's like, how does it win? I said, psychic damage. He's like, you don't have any librarians. No. It's the psychological impact of showing your opponent that you have 60 bikes.
60 bikes.
They'll go, I don't want to deal with that guy. That guy's crazy. Why does he have 60 of those?
Oh my God. And what is it? It's like over 200 T5 wounds.
240 T5 wounds.
Yeah, they're all like, and you can throw in.
Actually, that's not true. It's slightly more than that because the characters have more.
A Dark Shroud in there for like -1 to hit and cover and stuff.
Nope. No Dark Shroud.
No Dark Shroud, just bikes.
More bikes.
More bikes. Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. So Stormlance, you would be a Stormlance player.
Yeah, just for team.
It says, Jesus, I can feel my brain hemorrhaging.
Yep.
Yeah, that's about right.
All the bikes.
All the bikes. But I will be sad to see the Stormlance go as we know it. It is a hell of a lot of fun. Does some really unique stuff. But I'll be excited for a lot of the new Wolf stuff. Those new models are gorgeous.
Hey, I'm a White Scars fan. I have to live vicariously through others. Your models are incredible.
Yeah, they're incredible. I feel like you could take some of those models and tweak them slightly to make them White Scars. You know, like
I'm stealing your bits.
The runes, the swords, the pelts, like those could be choice.
Yeah, I'm stealing your bits. I'm telling you that right now, Aiden. I'm going to come over and steal your bits when you're not looking.
Yeah. Well, any last questions from the chat before we hop off?
I see Rizman saying that you might as well be White Scars. And yes, everyone should be White Scars for the Coggin.
I just like that we had the only mounted unit that was actually good in the game. Anyway, I'm going to grieve Thunderwolf Cavalry. A lot of people have been posting about Thunderwolf Cavalry. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate it. You watching. And Matt, who's the host, he's traveling right now. I think he's like 12 hours ahead. So it's like 6 a.m. for him now. So props to him for showing up in the chat.
Good to meet you, Matt. Hi, I'm Dusty.
Yeah. Rizman's asking opinions on the new World Eaters Battle Force. I'm going to look that up.
I assume he means the new Codex, or is there
There's a new Battle Force.
There is a new Battle Force. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Show me.
I'll look it up. I think one with a Demon Prince, a bunch of Berserkers, and some Jackals. Sorry.
I believe this is at the Gorestorm Slaughter Pack. No, that's not it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is the Gorestorm Slaughter Pack with a bunch of 8-bound. It's like 9 8-bound, 20 Jackals, and a Slaughter.
Yes. Yes, that is it. Okay.
Slaughterbound.
The Slaughterbound is very cool. I like that 8-bound are getting a leader that isn't a Juggerlord.
Yeah.
But I think that World Eaters, unfortunately, I don't think their new Codex is very good. I think it will be fine. I think you can still play them. I don't think they're going to be a meta destroyer. I think they're going to be in that 45 to 48% win bracket. At least in the beginning. If there's a build, Anthony will find it, and then we'll know that they are good.
Yeah, especially with the current points cost, their damage went way down, except for the index attachment. Like Berserkers got worse damage wise. Eightbound got so much worse damage wise. Angrond isn't really the same damage wise. So I'm just like wondering where their damage is going to come from.
So for me, it's not so much that they lose damage as they lose speed. They
Oh yeah,
lost a lot of their
advance
abilities
and
that make them
charge,
move fast across the board. They lost a lot of their scout moves.
auto 6 advance.
Yeah. So, and that's what made them so dangerous. And that's why right now, I think we saw multiple world leaders go 5-0 or 4-1 at that team tournament. And one of the team DGen guys, this was the most brutal alpha strike I've ever seen in 10th edition, where it was world leaders into chaos knights. The world leaders went first and killed 11 out of 13 war dogs on turn 1.
What happened? Oh my God.
He connected with everything. The guy had no scout unit or no infiltrating units to block.
Yeah.
And the world leaders went, bonjour, we have arrived. And all of the knights died.
That is, that's a new level of one-shotting the opponent. One punch man, just straight up one-shotting your opponent's army at the top of turn 1.
The only time I've seen an actual 20-10 without one person conceding.
Wow. Holy moly. Risbeth says, crying in the corner by 40 Berserkers. Yeah, Berserkers just got so sad. They lost fights first on their Master of Execution. They lost a point of strength except for the index attachment. It just seems like I'm just not sure what's carrying that codex nowadays. It used to be 8 pounds.
The Demon's codex, the Demon's detachment looks very interesting.
Amazing and very unique and cool.
I think of all of them, that seems like it'll be the strongest. Also, I do think that the mechanized one will be good because that brings back a lot of the speed that they're losing. And also, I really love the new Land Raiders.
Yeah.
Rapid fire 2 las cannons is very funny. 8 las cannon shots on a world leader's Land Raider just running into your face.
Yes, actually very hilarious. I love, and this is something we'll talk about. They're changing up the bog standard Marine templates because it used to be the Chaos Land Raider was the same in Death Guard as it was in World Eaters, as it was in Thousand Sons. And it just like, I like the way they're tweaking these unique things to be different. The World Eaters one now shoots 4 more extra shots, but it hits on 4s. So it's like, and everything, all of the guns, all of the bolters, heavy bolters, just have more shots. They hit on 4s.
Yes.
So thematic.
And the Corn Lord of Skulls is the same way, where he has rapid fire on all his guns, but he hits on 4s instead. And so I think that is probably, if you're playing mono world leaders with no demons, where you're going to go, because those Land Raiders, you still have assault ramp. You still have a lot of shenanigans. They have Drakari shenanigans to get back in their transports.
Yeah.
I think that will be the way to go for them.
Yeah.
And sorry, go ahead.
No. Yeah, you can finish.
I was gonna say, I do think that if that's what you want to play, that's that Gorestorm Slaughter Pack Battle Force is a really good value.
Yes.
It gives you all the World Leaders don't have a lot of units, but everything in that box is going to be very, very useful.
Yes. Jackals, 8 pound. Very good. So speaking of tweaking Marine data sheets slightly to make them different per detachment, per army, the Grey Hunters and the Blood Claws are now movement 7, and the Grey Hunters are OC3 instead of OC2. And I'm just like, I really like that trend of making those like bog standard Marine units tweaked differently per detachment. Now Corn Berserkers move 8,
like I thought they did in 9th edition.
Yeah, exactly.
I got called out on that once because I didn't realize, and then I never did it again.
I'm hopeful about the Wolfguard Terminators. I hope they'll get a detachment chapter specific tweak to make them unique and actually good. Because right now Terminators are just not doing it for me. I mean, the models are gorgeous. Everyone loves Terminators, but the Terminator data sheet needs a lot of love for it to be good. So
yes, it does. And I do think you'll get that, because if you look at the precedent, right, is each Codex faction's unique Terminators have gotten their own special rules, their own glow up. So for Dark Angels, it was Deathwing Knights They got their own unique rules. They got new models. They were really good. For Blood Angels, I'm going to call their chapter Terminator equivalent Sanguinary Guard. I know they aren't exactly, but that's kind of the equivalent for them. They got new rules. They are very good.
Yes.
I think we're going to see the same thing with Space Wolves, where you're going to get new Terminators. Oh, and we saw Deathwatch Terminators. Talking about Mark Hertel, he abused people at LVO with those Deathwatch Terminators.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they got special rules. They are very, very good. And I think that trend will continue. Games Workshop knows that Terminators are incredibly popular because they're so cool, and they're going to keep making them good.
Yeah. We'll see what the future holds. Dusty, we're at an hour. I wanted to thank you so much for coming to the podcast.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Aiden. It was a joy to be here.
Yeah. And maybe we'll have you on in the future. This was great. I really enjoyed it. We'd love to have you on.
I'd love to be back.
All right, everyone. Take it easy, and thanks for joining us. All right. Have a good night.